In a world where dietary recommendations from the government seem to change every month, obesity and eating disorders are on the rise, and more people than ever are reporting difficulties eating right. Are extreme diets actually worth doing? Well, then why are so many people divided on what diets you should follow to optimize health and performance? How much protein do you need? How many carbs? Do you even need carbs? Everything from a carnivore style to vegan diets, everyone seems to have an opinion of what is the perfect diet. But does something like that really even exist? Well, that's all gonna be covered in today's episode of Gym Theory. Guys, and welcome to Gym Theory, the series where I challenge the biggest topics in the fitness scene, everything from lifting to controversies, myths and theories, all gathered in a single place. And today's topic is gonna revolve around diets, specifically extreme diets, and why people seem to be aggressively divided on what foods you definitely should or should not eat. And today we have a fellow YouTuber sponsoring the video with some pretty relevant inventions. Thank you to Jeff Nippert and Macrofactor for wanting to sponsor my channel. It's a pretty big honor receiving a praise from a guy like Jeff, and he asked me to test out this app called Macrofactor, which is basically the best calorie and food tracker app on the market, as it helps you log how much food you eat more efficiently and precisely than any other app. Plus, all the foods in their database have been verified, so you can actually trust the accuracy of it. But not only is it efficient, it also takes your weight and nutrition data to offer a personalized energy expenditure estimate, which is more accurate than whatever calculators you could find online, and it uses that very information to personalize and adjust your nutrient targets from week to week, similarly to a coach. So I've tried this app myself now for a few weeks, and it definitely offers the best experience I've had with these sort of apps, even better than MyFitnessPal while being much cheaper than their premium, and you can also try it out for free before committing to the full price. So if you're unsure, why not just try it out yourself? If you use the code BACK, you can get a 2-week completely free trial, and using the code helps me out as well. You can find the app on both Google Play and the App Store, as well as on their website at macrofactorapp.com. But with that out of the way, let's lead into what a diet actually is. Well, the word diet itself basically translates to what you eat on a regular basis, but it can also refer to when a person restricts their intake to specific foods or food groups, mostly for medical reasons or just a benefit, which is what most people think about when they hear the word diet. And most people who are on one of these diets seem to have tried several of them in pursuit of what works for them specifically, or mostly which diet allows them to maintain a desired calorie and macro split for reaching their goals. For example, if you're looking to lose weight, you should consume a diet which allows you to maintain a calorie deficit while remaining at least somewhat full and get a decent amount of protein in to ensure you're not losing muscle. And if you're looking to gain weight, or specifically to gain muscle mass, you should ideally be in a calorie surplus while getting enough protein that is also maintainable in the long run. So based on this, dieting seems pretty simple, right? Just eat enough protein and make sure your overall calories are in line with your goals. Well, yes, but there is a whole lot of poor information out there on the internet, specifically on social media, with people trying to make lots of money on behalf of somebody else's lack of knowledge, glorifying the supposed benefits of a very specific diet, often one with a very limited food intake, or what some refer to as extreme diets. As an example, the Liver King praises these so-called ancestral ways of living and eating, as in eating exactly like humans did over thousands of years ago. And while some of the things he says are actually decent, like being out in the sun, taking early morning walks, and eating organ meats because they're pretty nutritious, on the opposite end, most of what he says has no actual documented benefit or research behind it. Quite often the opposite, and he would blatantly spew these lies in order to sell his supplements and brand image. Heck, he even claimed his physique was formed naturally from just his lifestyle, until he got popped for an insane drug protocol similar to that of a pro bodybuilder. Although that is a completely different issue on its own. But extreme diets can also arise from the opposite side of justifications, like ethical dilemmas, like should you kill animals in order to eat, which has sparked the rise of people subscribing to vegetarian and vegan diets, which, to be fair, also have a bit of research behind them to justify their existence from a health standpoint. So with that, let's start with perhaps the most infamous diet on the planet today, the vegan diet, which basically means you're not allowed to eat any product that stems from an animal, including meat, milk, butter, cheese, and eggs primarily. And this is basically a stricter version of a vegetarian diet where you're not allowed to eat any meat. Currently, there is quite a decent amount of studies showing that people who eat vegan or vegetarian style diets are generally healthier than the average person, showing that they tend to live longer and have lower risk of developing heart disease. But the long-term effects of a vegan diet on cognitive function, long-term adherence, and how they compare to non-vegan counterparts who are of equal body mass and fitness is unknown. And there's really no good studies showing that switching to a vegan diet exclusively will improve general health. Just that vegans and vegetarians on average are much healthier, which can be caused by many outside factors, as those vegans and vegetarians tend to care more about their health than the average guy, and thus are also very likely to be more physically active, for example. And overall, these people seem very passionate about why they eat the way they do, and claiming it's mostly because they don't want to hurt animals for the sake of nutrients. And although vegans tend to get a very bad reputation for being super pushy about their diets to other people, also because many do stupid like this.
A protester who ran on the field during Monday's 49ers game has filed a police report for assault. The animal rights activist who was carrying a device giving off that pink smoke was leveled by Rams linebacker Bobby Wagner. The man's attorney says he's considering legal action against the NFL and the players involved.
I could definitely respect the ethical aspects of that diet. Although there are also downsides to the vegan diet, like lacking protein sources, low bioavailability of the existing protein sources, and the fact that vegan food just generally doesn't taste that good according to many. Despite this, the vegan diets are definitely not the worst out there in terms of sustainability. But a diet that has recently gotten a lot of attention for its supposed high sustainability comes from the total opposite side of the diet spectrum, the carnivore style diets, where people almost exclusively eat meat and sometimes other animal-based products like eggs, butter, and milk, virtually the complete opposite of a vegan. Now, this group is notably much smaller than vegans, but there have been some notable people in that diet and fitness scene promoting this style of eating. Guys like Paul Salandino, of course the Liver King, and even somebody like Jordan Peterson claims to use a strictly carnivorous diet model, although he doesn't recommend it to others. Perhaps the most outspoken of these guys, psychiatrist Paul Salandino, has promoted the ketogenic and carnivorous style dieting as something most people should follow from a health and performance perspective. Even if he's more so leaning towards a similar approach to the Liver King with some carbohydrate sources than actual carnivore, it is essential to note that the long-term effects and adherence of this way of eating is not well established, as the existing research is quite limited. Although there are some anecdotal reports that indicate a ketogenic or carnivore style diet may cause short-term weight loss and even work positively on markers for inflammation and blood sugar control. There hasn't been a single experimental study done on humans at the time of making this video. Although the best study we do have on the carnivore diet is a self-report study from 2021, where over 2,000 participants consuming a carnivore diet reported their self-perceived health status, alongside reporting some quantitative measures of health like cholesterol levels. Most participants actually reported improvements in their own perception of hunger, food cravings, sleep, energy levels, focus, memory, and most importantly, overall health. Now, it is to be noted that this was a questionnaire put out via social media, and there is definitely some selection bias, meaning that those with a positive experience are much more likely to report about their health status in this setting than those with negative experiences. Also, there were no actual criteria for what a carnivore diet actually was, just that participants identified with using one. Also, those who reported their cholesterol levels had their LDL cholesterol very elevated, which is linked to a higher risk of developing cardiovascular disease. Although I have to admit, I was very surprised that so many people actually reported positive experiences with such a restrictive diet, which brings us to the next type of diet I'll be discussing, namely fad diets. And by fad diets, I'm mostly referring to diets which arise from social media trends that seek to reduce body weight in the fastest way possible. These include stuff like tea diets, the Atkins diet, intermittent fasting, the raw food diet, and even diets that revolve exclusively around juice. And all these have one thing in common, and that is the single goal to improve one or more aspects of health, although most focus on the weight reduction aspect. And with the exception of intermittent fasting, which I would consider an intervention more so than a diet model, these diet models are far too specific, and they often lack the nutritional value your body needs. And sometimes they're just straight out unhealthy. Again, unless maybe you're very sick or have some underlying condition which forces you to eat like this. But one thing these diets all have in common, similarly to the vegan and carnivore diets, is that they are not equally sustainable for individual humans. Sure, if you give 1,000 people a fad diet, a couple are going to get healthier and be able to sustain that lifestyle. But for most people, restricting yourself to eating very specific foods and lifestyle choices like that is gonna be non-sustainable, and once you stop, you're likely gonna fall back into those same poor habits which made you question these dietary choices to even begin with. So my suggestion is to find a diet that you can actually maintain for the long run. So if you like burgers, have one every once in a while, as long as you're able to maintain your calorie goals for the week. It will only work in your favor. And if you like chocolate, have a piece, not necessarily every day, but maybe once or twice a week, which is gonna be much easier to sustain with a healthy diet than just cutting it out completely. And the same goes for pretty much everything you want to do in your life. You don't start at the extreme end. You start with something you're comfortable with that still applies to your goals, and from there you can tailor towards what fits you better after some trial and error. So in summary, don't start with an extreme diet. Just eat however you like, get a decent amount of protein, and maintain a calorie intake sustainable for whichever goals you have. And if you want to taper towards a specific lifestyle, I suggest you do so over time. And if you have an underlying disease, contact a doctor or nutritionist or physiologist, at least somebody who understands how you can eat in a healthy and sustainable way as an individual. And if you want to find a diet that works for you to lose weight or gain weight alongside custom training plans, you can hit me up for coaching. The link to that will be pinned in the comments. And I am an educated exercise physiologist. That is what I do, and I hope to see you over there. And the question of the week is therefore, what dietary approach has worked the best for you? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you leave some comments on what topics I should cover in the next episode, and I'll see you all next time.